football. He has on the shuttle cross. Michigan touchdown! Shoelaces dropping in the wind. We shy away from no challenge or opponent. We bow to no man. We bow to no program. We are Michigan.
This podcast is brought to you by JMC Sports in Metamora, Michigan, your destination for authentic sports memorabilia, cards, and collectibles for every fan. Check them out in-store or online at jmcgear.com.
All right. Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to A Great Story Podcast. This is our Lions Legends episode with Eddie Murray. It's our collaboration episode with Brett and Brett from the Mitten State Sports Corner, and I'm Chad Toms. Great to meet you, Eddie. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you joining us on this holiday weekend. How's everything going in your world?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, appreciate
not a problem.
Yeah,
well,
happy Labor Day.
Yeah, one of us are all golfing today. Brett with 2 T's. So this is the first on A Great Story Podcast.
It's great to be here, guys.
All right. See, I don't think we could film myself on the golf course. That'd be probably swearing and having too many beers. I don't know if that would be good for the clicks or not.
I think I need a couple beers for how I've started so far.
Right. Well, hey, Eddie, we want to chat about your career with the Lions. I know you were drafted in 1980 with the Lions, the 7th round pick out of Tulane, and you got your start. We always like to kind of go back, where it all began, and then we can walk you through your entire career. But we're so excited to speak with you, and so I guess, and we've interviewed Ken Dallafor, Rich Stringer. We had Mark Spindler on. We asked them all the same question. Compared to today's NFL draft, you see all the pomp and circumstance and 24-hour coverage. And, what was it like in 1980 being drafted? I guess, share with us how that phone call went down. Did you have a draft watch party like they do today? Or did you simply get a call from the Lions?
Well, no, it's totally different. I mean, back in 1980, I was at Tulane University, and during the spring, there's the evaluation process. So I had some. Back then, they used to have a Bledsoe Scout. I'm not sure if you know of the Bledsoe Scout. So a Bledsoe Scout was like someone who would have like 5 or 6 teams, and those teams would give that person certain individuals to go and see in their region. So they lived all around the country. So I'd have a Bledsoe Scout. I had a Lions Scout. But the interesting story to my draft day is one of the people that worked me out prior to the draft was Bill Belichick. So at the time in 1980, Bill was the special teams coach for the New York Giants. So I had kind of a unique one because he was the only workout that I had that went over 2 days. So of all things, so when I got a call from our sports information director saying, "Hey, Ed, there's a scout from the Giants, and he was wondering if you could be available for a workout at," I forget what it was, like, mid-afternoon, 3:00 or something like that. And I said, "Yeah, all I'm doing is studying for finals." So we're just kind of on the tail end of spring semester and getting ready to graduate and all that kind of stuff. So I went and met him. He introduced himself. "Hi, I'm, Coach Belichick, Giants, special teams." And so I was just kind of like warming up, getting ready to kick. And he put me through like 40 minutes of like linebacker drills and defensive back drills and karaoke and doing all this stuff. And I'm sure spring in New Orleans is hot and humid. So I'm out there and I'm going, and I finally stopped. I said, "Coach, do you know that I'm a kicker?" And he goes, "No, I know you're a kicker. I just want to, kind of get an idea of what your athleticism is and, all this stuff." And I said, "Look, if you want me to kick, I'm exhausted. Okay. You've put me through a workout that I didn't go through in 2 years at Tulane, So he said, "Oh, okay, no worries." So I said, "Can you work out tomorrow and kick for me to the following day?" Which I did. So I kicked for him, had a good session. And now, the draft's coming up. So back then, the draft wasn't on radio, was not on TV. So the sports information director called me and said, hey, I'm just confirming this is your number. So what would happen back then is if you got drafted, they would contact the school to get your number. So they, the number wasn't given out to teams. They had to call the school, and the sports information director had to be ready. And so now it's draft day. Draft's going on. I'm just kind of studying in my apartment, just hang close to the phone. There was trying to think, there was two other guys, Rock Hontus, who was our quarterback, and Alton Alexa, who was a wideout. We were kind of like the three that were told, hey, you guys seem like you may fall into the draft. So long story short, my phone rings, and it's Coach Belichick. And he said, hey, Ed, Coach Parcells wanted me to give you a call, make sure we had the right number and all this kind of stuff. We're just finishing the fourth round because I believe at that time the Giants were maybe fourth or fifth round pick. They weren't really good at that time. Of course, the Lions had the first pick because they had taken Billy Sims in the first round. So we're going to make you our fifth round pick. So we just want to make sure we got the number so we can call you. Okay, great. And I'm going, oh my God. And I was married at the time. I told my wife, I said, hey, I just got a call from the Giants. They said they're going to make me the next pick. And so we're all kind of excited and anticipating for the call. Period of time goes by. Phone call comes, and it's Coach Belichick. He goes, hey, Ed, hate to tell you, we had someone who fell to us, and you're going to be our sixth round pick. Okay, so just put you on hold. Just, just be ready. We'll give you a call. Period of time goes by. Phone rings. It's Coach Belichick. And he said, Ed, you're not going to believe this. Someone else fell to us. And Coach Parcells told me, you're going to be our seventh round pick for sure. We don't care what's happened. So in 1980, there were 12 rounds. The first 6 rounds were the first day, and the 7th through 12th were the following day. So Ed, go on. We're not changing our mind. You're it. You're our 7th round pick. And so at the time, my wife's cousin was a guy named Mike Rogers. He played in the NHL. He actually played for the Hartford Whalers when Gordie Howe and Marty Howe played for the team. They used to call him the Howe, and Who line because everybody knew who Gordie and Marty was, but they didn't know who the hell he was. Yeah. So Mike and his wife were in town for graduation and just coming to visit. So we went out and celebrated. So we tore up the French Quarter, had a nice meal, drank too much, got home late, and all of a sudden the phone starts ringing like at 7:30 my time, which is 8:30 East Coast time, and it's someone from the Detroit Lions. And he said, hey, can you tell us what your junior stats were? And I'm in a fog. I mean, and I'm going, what? And I'm trying to think of what it was. Yeah. So I told the person what my stats were. I go, okay, thanks. 10 minutes later, someone else from the Lions called. Ed, what were your senior stats? And so I told the person, and I'm going, why are these people bothering me? I'm going to be a Giant. Yeah, I'm already a Giant. Right, I'm a Giant. I was locked in, right? And so then a few minutes later it goes by, and I get the call from the Detroit Lions because they had the first pick of the second day, and they made me their 7th round pick. So I'm going, oh my God, wow, that's out of the blue. I had no idea. I'm excited, but I'm kind of like upset because I kept thinking I was going to be a Giant. Mm-hmm. Well, lo and behold, like 10 minutes later, my phone rings again, and it's Coach Belichick. And he said, hey, we messed up. I know you're going to come back to haunt us. He said, I think you're going to have a great career in the NFL. Good luck to you, Eddie. And that was it. Now, the sidebar to that is after the first day, when I worked out for him, he actually took my wife and I out to dinner. So having dinner in college at that time was a luxury. So sure. He ended up taking us to a restaurant owned by the Brennan's family. The Brennan's family are like the Joe Viccaris and, big restaurateurs of New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And they had a place in the French Quarter called the Court of Two Sisters. And so we went and had a really nice meal. He was engaging talking with my wife and me and all of that kind of stuff. And so now let's fast forward to like, I think it was 5, 6 years ago. The Lions were playing the Patriots in preseason. And I had divorced from my first wife. And I told this story to my now wife. We just celebrated our 31st anniversary. This draft story about the going to dinner. And we were at we were on the sidelines. I'm sorry, at the preseason game, and my wife says, "Oh my God, Coach Belichick is walking down the ramp onto Ford Field. Why don't you go say hi to him?" I go, "Say hi to him. I haven't seen him in 35 years,
Right.
whatever amount of time was, right?"
Yeah.
And so she kind of pushed me out on the field, and I go, "Coach Belichick," and he sees me, and he gets, for him, a big smile on his face, and he comes walking over to me and shakes my hand, and he says, "Do you remember when I took you and your wife out to the Court of Two Sisters?"
Wow,
And
that's
I'm
awesome.
and I'm like, and my jaw drops. I'm going, I can't even remember that. How the hell did he remember that? And that's why Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
He pulled an obscure moment in time with an obscure kicker out of Tulane. It was amazing.
That's
So that's my story with it. Here I was thinking I was going to be a Giant, and I ended up getting drafted by the Detroit Lions.
oh, wow. That's I
What a
mean
story.
incredible. I think it's funny that they had to call you to get your stats. I mean, it just that tells you. I mean, nowadays just Google it and you'd have it in 2 seconds. But yeah, just a different time.
Oh
That
yeah,
is
I
so
mean back
cool.
then, 1980, there was Joe Brashovsky was a scout, and there was Dirking. He was the scout that worked me out at Tulane, and they had one other person who was like, God, I'm trying to think who the player director was. That was it. I mean, the staff was like 3 people. Now you got a staff of 10, 12 people in the pro scouting uh, teams now. So it's totally, totally different. Yeah.
hmm And you also were drafted into the CFL as well, right? In the same
Yeah.
same year.
Yeah, I was. So that was kind of a funny story too. So I'm from Victoria, British Columbia. In fact, I'm leaving Thursday to go back to my 50th high school reunion, which
Oh,
is kind
cool.
of scary. 50 years, I can't believe it. Anyway, so yeah, so that their draft was, I'm trying to think, maybe about a month or so before it, and one of my high school buddies that I keep in touch with, he calls me up and he goes, "Hey Ed, congratulations." And I'm going, "Congratulations on what?" And I'm still, it was like February, March, I think is the timing of everything, because I know it was before the NFL draft. And they said, "Hey, it's in the Victoria Times calling us that you got drafted by the Hamilton Tiger Cats." And I go, "Really?" I said, I didn't hear anything. And it goes, "Well, it's in the newspaper." So I called our sports information director and thinking, well, he should know something. They made a contact, and he goes, "Ed, I haven't heard anything from the Canadian League from you." He said, "Let me call." So he does. He calls the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and yeah, I was drafted. I think it was a third round pick. I think it was, if I recall. Um, and he said, "Here's their number. They want you to give them a call." And I'm going, "They want me to call them? They drafted me." But I figured, okay, what the hell? So I
Yeah.
got the number, and I called, got a front desk receptionist saying, "Hey, my name's Ed Murray. I understand I got drafted by the Tiger Cats, and I was told to call." And I forget, it was some woman's name who was like a secretary for the scouting people. And so I talked to her, told her Ed Murray on the phone. "Oh yeah, Ed, we've been meaning to give you a call." And I'm going, okay. So I get on the phone with whomever. I don't know if it was a scout or general manager, and they said, "Yeah, we knew that the NFL draft was kind of coming up, so we would see if we would take you and give you an option type of thing, and we'll give you a call back, and we'll talk to your agent or whatever kind of thing at that time, and just at least negotiate a contract." I never got a call back. They
Really?
never
Wow.
called me back. I never heard anything from them. Nothing. So yeah, just kind of a different scenario with the Canadian League.
So yeah, no brainer to go to the Lions in 1980 as opposed to waiting around for the cats to give you a call after all these years.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah,
why invest a 3rd-round pick if you're not going to call them? That's whatever.
yeah.
Well, that's well, everything turned out great for you. I know you spent 11 years in Detroit.
12. Yeah, 12
12
years.
years in Detroit.
Yeah,
And I know you made your way through the Super Bowl. So
yeah.
I mean, and I was thinking, I've met a lot of people in my life. I've crossed paths. We've had a lot of great interviews on our show, but I don't know if I've ever met a Super Bowl champion before. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm sure I probably have somewhere along the way. Have you guys ever met a Super Bowl champion in your life? I think this is the first, Eddie.
Oh, wow. I'm honored.
That's a first.
I love the
for us.
Belichick story, honestly. That was, and he threw you through D-back drills. That's just pure
I mean,
Belichick.
at the time, I just was trying to be nice and not, wonder why I'm doing all of this. But that's how Belichick turned over every pebble to find out, everything about whoever he was looking at. But to retain that, like I said, with 35 years later, pulling out an obscure thing that happened. It was interesting. I mean, he was stoic like he is now. I mean, he didn't really talk much. He just said, Ed, hey, do you mind going over here? And Ed, do you mind doing this thing? And, I went through everything and, 30, 40 minutes later, I just asked him, I'm a kicker. Why am I doing all this? But yeah, definitely unique.
So I guess
Did he have the makings of a head coach back then?
Oh, I'm sorry. They kind of had 2 or 3 people talking.
My fault.
I'm sorry. Did he have makings of like the head coach back then? Like you could see, he's like, oh yeah, he's going to be a head coach one day.
Well, I mean, being a kicker out of Tulane, I'm the last person to evaluate whether he was going to be a great coach. I think time took that over, and he was in a great situation. But he, one of the, I think that's why I made the comment. That's why Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick. So he had that work ethic and that knowledge and retainment of talent. That was second to none. And I think that was evident to me, especially later in life. He just kind of, I don't know, paid his dues, for lack of better words, and went through the coaching system, went through the coaching trees from assistants to coordinator, and then, finding the right situation for him as a head coach. And then we all know what he did at New England it's historic. I don't think any head coach ever will have the tenure like he had at the New England Patriots.
Yeah,
did
North Carolina now. It's crazy.
Going through that process, did it cause you to have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder in the sense that did you feel slighted by that organization? Obviously having that kind of a 180 going to the Lions, or was it a situation where you were just thankful that they were even interested, like you mentioned, from Tulane, maybe not have gotten the same recognition as some of the other schools? And was it a fit where you were just like, thank you, Coach Belichick. I'm just appreciative of thinking of me, or were you kind of like, listen, I'm going to show these guys and kind of prove what he said to you right, where he said, I know you're going to come back to haunt me.
Well, I never had that because, first of all, I was blessed with my career in every stage, from high school to college, from college to the pros, and then my tenure in the NFL. I was blessed with everything I did. I mean, I'm a Canadian kid out of Victoria, British Columbia.
Right.
All right. I might be the only Canadian that can't skate. Okay. So normally that's a prerequisite, but my journey to where I got, I was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is the East Coast Naval Base for the Canadian Navy. Victoria is the West Coast Naval Base. When my father retired in 1960, he was British, but he was in the Canadian Navy and served in World War II and Korean War, and he moved the family to England. So from 5 to 15, I lived in Portsmouth, England. So I grew up playing soccer, rugby, cricket. My heroes were Bobby Charlton, George Best, Jeff Hurst. They were my heroes. I wanted to kick a round ball, not an oblique ball. And so that was my thought process. So when my father passed away when I was 14, and my mother, being Canadian, moved me back to Canada to be closer to her relatives in Victoria. So I didn't start playing football until I was like 16. And thank God they had soccer and rugby in Victoria. So I just kind of blended into what I knew and loved. And, soccer was my first love. I was a pretty good rugby player. Of course, I did all of the, kicking the converts and kicking the penalty kicks and rugby. And so I always had like a strong leg, but I didn't grow up want to be a football player. I wanted to be a football player in England. So it was a different journey for me. And having Tulane, so this is 19, I don't know how much time we have, but people always have asked me, okay, how did you get from Victoria to Tulane in 1976?
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's not like I'm on their radar. I'm like 3,500 miles away from them. Okay. So the story is I was playing football. I used to play slot back, which is the guy in motion in Canadian football, and played a little DB. Just loved the contact part of it, like the contact part of rugby. So I kind of was asked by guys I played rugby and soccer with, why don't you try out for football? Well, in Victoria, they didn't have school football. It was we were sponsored by a construction group, and there was like 4 teams in our league. We'd practice 2 or 3 days a week at night, and play games. And it wasn't a big league. No one was really kind of going anywhere type of thing. It was just a fun thing to do. Well, the coach, Frank Hindle, was my coach at the time for the Saanich Hornets. And he took a job to coach the Victoria Cougars, which was kind of like more of a beer league. Older guys like from, 20 to whatever. I mean, they had guys like 30 playing in this league. And he gave me a call and he says, hey, Ed, the British Columbia Lions are having a development camp on the island, and they're going to pick kids at this camp to go to a camp in Vancouver that they're going to run, the coaching staff of the BC Lions. It's a new thing the Canadian League's doing to look at junior players, kids in college, basically, is what it was. And he said, Ed, I think you need to go to the camp here because you could get a chance to get a scholarship to go play football. And I didn't think that way at that time. I just wanted to get through school. My mother was in the thralls of cancer and ends up passing away about a month before I go to college. So I'm dealing with my mom. At the time, I had graduated high school and I was working. So I wasn't from a family of wealth. And first of all, I didn't want anything to do with university. I just was a terrible student. I put all my energy into sports. And so I'm working in a lumberyard, driving a forklift, taking care of my mom. And I go to the camp on the island, and lo and behold, I get picked to go to Vancouver to a week-long camp in Vancouver. The BC Lions were running. And so I do. I go to the camp. They had 2-a-days. I didn't go to a lot of 2-a-days. I went to afternoon practice because I was seeing my high school buddies that went to college over in Vancouver, like at Simon Fraser and UBC. And I just thought, hey, I'm going to enjoy seeing everybody. And so I went to mostly the afternoon practices. Didn't really put a lot of effort into it, a lot of thought. I just used it as a week off of work. And at the last day of the camp, they had a scrimmage. There was 80 kids, maybe 90 kids, full contact camp at the old Lions field, Detroit Lions field. I'm sorry, BC Lions field. And at halftime, we didn't go to locker rooms. We just went to to the sidelines. And Cal Murphy was the head coach of the BC Lions at the time. And he comes over to me and he says, hey, are you the kid from Victoria that I heard that can kick? And I said, yeah. And he goes, do you mind kicking for me right now? Let's get a snapper and holder. I'd love to see you kick. I said, sure, why not? So we get a snapper and a holder, and I go out there and I start kicking some extra points and moving over to the left hash and the right hash. And as I'm doing it, the campers were all horseshoeing around me, giving me the business, yelling and screaming. And I get all the way back to 52 yards before I miss. And so Cal goes, okay, good job. Everybody's jumping up and down, high-five me. It was, and camp ends. So they finish the camp, and I'm showering. I'm getting ready to jump on the bus, catch the ferry back to Victoria, go see my mom. And one of the assistant coaches says, "Hey, Coach Murphy wants to talk to you." So I go into his office thinking he's going to kind of chew me out because I wasn't at camp a lot. And he says, "Hey, Ed, that was pretty impressive what you did. I just came out of a meeting real quickly with my staff. And I don't know if you know, but the CFL is initiating a junior rule for us to help develop and bring kids into to see what the NFL. I'm sorry, the CFL, and we would like to invite you as a junior player to come to training camp." And I'm going, "What does that entail?" He goes, "Well, you're not going to get paid, so you're going to come and compete for a position. Are you interested in doing that?" And I thought, well, what the hell? Okay, yeah. Why not? So Bobby Ackles was the general manager of the BC Lions at the time. He calls me up. He goes, "Hey, Ed, here's what we're going to do. If you make the team, you'll get a $500 bonus. And your first year's salary will be $11,000. And your second year salary will be $13,000. And I'm going, "Oh my God, I'm rich. This is amazing. I mean, I can take care of my family." I'm going, "This is crazy," right? So I'm working out to go to camp. I'm taking care of my mom. I'm working, driving a forklift, all this kind of stuff. So long story short, I got about, I don't know, a month into getting ready to go to camp. I had a message on my phone. "Hi, this is Willard Wells from Tulane University. Please give me a call back." Well, with anything that has university in it, I didn't call back. Okay. So I ignored him. And he happens to catch me on a Saturday that I was off work. And he goes, "Hey, Ed, my name's Willard Wells. I am the recruiting coordinator and the defensive line coach at Tulane University. Would you be interested in coming on a recruiting trip?" And I said, "Nope, I have no interest at all." And he goes, "I understand your situation with the BC Lions. If things change, give me a call. Here's my number." I don't write it down. Okay. Totally ghosted him, blew him off, everything. I now go to camp. So Canadian League football, 1976, was a part-time job. Most players worked during the day and they would go to practice like at 5, 6 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. And so they worked. They didn't make, look at the money I was being offered. I mean, $11,000 and $13,000. So guys weren't making a living off of it. They worked. So I played slot back, and I got to preface it. I was at camp with Louis Passaglia. So if you have not heard of that name, Louis Passaglia ended up becoming one of the best kicker, punters, wide receivers in the CFL. He played like 20 years in the league. So it became very apparent when I was there competing up against him. And I'm 18 years old. Yeah. Okay. I'm 18. He's graduated. I think he went to University of British Columbia. I think it was. I forget the college. Forgive me. Great guy, great player. He actually tried out a few years when I was in the NFL with Cleveland. I think he tried out with them and didn't make it. But it was evident. So I'm there a week, not doing well, getting ready to go out to practice, whatever, a special teams period. And I'm walking to the field, and this guy comes up to me, and he says, "I'm Willard Wells from Tulane University." And I'm going, "Oh, my God." Now, I can't Google Tulane. This is 76. And I definitely didn't own a thesaurus in my home. Okay, so I couldn't look up Tulane. Yep. And so I still had I didn't know where Louisiana was. He told me where Louisiana. I'm going, that's it. Anything south of the 49th parallel, I didn't know. I knew Seattle and Washington. That was my geographical knowledge I had at the time. So he said, "Hey, I know you're going to practice. Let's talk afterwards." Great. So I'm at practice. Didn't have a good kicking session. Mom had taken a turn, and I was worried about her. And I'm sitting there, and it just like hit me. I'm on the field. I'm going, this is over my head. I mean, and plus at the time when I graduated Tulane 4 years later, I was 170 pounds. I was like 145 pounds, 50 pounds back then, trying to compete. So as you knew, I'm up against 30-year-olds. It just wasn't for me. And so I went to Cal during practice, said, hey, Cal, I appreciate the opportunity. This has been educational. It's been a learning experience. I definitely got a lot out of this, but I need to go home and see my mom, and I need to go. And he goes, I totally agree. Why don't you go over and talk to Coach Wells? So I do. I go over and talk to Coach Wells. He said, Ed, are you interested in coming on a recruiting trip? And I said, yes, but I've got to go home and see my mom first before I do it. Now, how does this Cal Murphy, Willard Wells situation work out? And here's where there's fork in everybody's lives, right? So before Cal Murphy took the job for the BC Lions, he was the head coach at San Jose State. One of his assistant coaches was Willard Wells. Willard was the recruiting coordinator as well as a position coach at San Jose State. So when Cal left, the new coach came in. I don't know who the new coach was, but they always don't get rid of the recruiting coordinator because you want to keep your recruiting class, right? So they kept Willard around for, I think he was there for like maybe 3 more years after. And Cal went on to Vancouver and coached the BC Lions. Willard gets fired, signs as a new coach under Larry Smith. Remember Larry Smith from USC days and Missouri, Arizona? Larry Smith signed as the new coach at Tulane University in 1976 and hired Willard Wells to be a position coach and recruiting coordinator. Willard Wells is from Powell River, British Columbia. That's his hometown. Wow. I think today they don't have a traffic light in that town. It's a logging town and an Indian reservation. You get there by logging trail, not pavement, logging trail. Yeah. At the time, you take a seaplane or you drive. That's it. So he wanted to go see his family before he had to report to Tulane. So he left San Jose, flew into Vancouver, and here's where my life changed. He decided, hey, before I drive up to Powell River, I'm going to stop by the BC Lions offices and say hi to Cal. Hadn't seen him in a few years. He does, goes into Coach Murphy's, he goes into Cal Murphy's office. They exchange pleasantries, and he's watching film, and he goes, what do you got here? And he says, oh, it's a kid from Victoria that's a kicker that we've invited to come to training camp. And he's looking at me on film from halftime. They took me kicking at halftime at the camp. And he goes, you mean that guy's got eligibility? And he goes, yeah, he's a junior. We're going to invite him to camp. He goes, Coach Smith asked me to take care of the kickers because to try to find a kicker because they don't have a good kicker at Tulane. That's how I got found. He could have picked any other time. He could have picked, I'm going to see him on the way back. He could have not done it at all. Sure. From then on, I've been on this path and where I'm at today. I've got God bless Willard's past, but he was the one who got me to go. And like I said, I went on a recruiting trip. It's kind of hard not to love New Orleans. Okay, there's a lot of things to like about it. And my soccer coach, in fact, I'm looking forward to seeing him when I go back. He's still alive. Joe Beckers. Joe was kind of like my father figure when my dad passed. And when I got offered a scholarship, he said, Ed, don't turn this down. He said, look, you're not stupid. He says, you're just freaking lazy, okay? You hate studying, okay? So take advantage of all the tools Tulane will give you and go to school, get your degree, okay? Because you're not dumb. And I got my degree in 4 years, and it was the smartest thing I did. I went there, and here I am today.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, I'm a firm believer of that, Ed, is that, things they just don't mysteriously just happen. Everything happens for a reason. I've had so many examples of that where I've just happened to cross paths with people in my life at just the perfect time. And so, I mean, like you said, if he would have picked a different time, or if, he wouldn't have been looking at that film when he was there, I mean, your life would be completely different.
Yeah. God has a reason for you to have these things happen to him. So I don't question anything that has happened. I just know I was fortunate. I took advantage of the situation that I had, and And it was a crazy path. It wasn't definitely my desire to do what I ended up doing, but I decided, especially when I went to Tulane, I was very raw. Of course, I had a strong leg, and Coach Wells was someone, I never had film of myself when I was in high school or anything. And he said, Ed, you got to work on your approach. You got to work on your craft. Because I wanted to be a wideout also. And he goes, no, you're just going to kick. That's it. And I said, you mean you're going to give me a full scholarship just to kick a football? And he goes, yep, that's it. So I did. I just kind of flipped the switch from kicking round balls and rugby balls to really concentrating on trying to do what I could kicking footballs.
What a path.
So so you get drafted by the Lions, and then didn't you lead the NFL in scoring was it your rookie year?
Yeah, I was. I was very. I mean, my rookie year. I mean, tagging along with Billy Sims. We were scoring a lot. I should say we were in scoring position a lot. We weren't scoring a lot of touchdowns, so I was kicking a lot of field goals. So I had an unbelievable rookie year. Got voted into the Pro Bowl my rookie year. I was the first rookie to be MVP in the Pro Bowl game. There's only been 2 rookies. Marshall Faulk was the other one who was a rookie, an MVP in the Pro Bowl game. So a lot of really positive things happened. We didn't win a lot. We ended up losing the last game of the year, not making the playoffs. But just some instant success coming in my rookie year.
So you got a chance to play with a lot of legends throughout your career with the Lions. Was there any interesting locker room stories you want to share with us over those years that the public may not know about?
Well, there's always characters on every team, and I was blessed to play with some great teammates. I know my 12-year tenure with Detroit, I only had 2 winning seasons. So we sucked a lot. Unfortunately, I know for me personally, it was I did well because we were kicking a lot of field goals. Well, you don't win a lot of games when you kick a lot of field goals.
Right.
So I like that. I wish we won more. And when I left, and became that, kind of like that leg for hire, which is what I ended up doing, because I played 1 year for different teams after that, but I ended up playing 7 more years after Detroit let me go. So, just very blessed, but just great characters, great, great teams. And of course, just being very fortunate to have the opportunity to play for the Cowboys in '93 and winning Super Bowl 28 was, definitely the pinnacle of my career.
So obviously it wasn't a direct pass off to Jason Hansman. Obviously there was a gap there, between the Lions tenure.
No, they drafted Jason in the 2nd round. Actually, the Cowboys, the Lions gave up some picks to the Cowboys to take their 2nd round pick.
Okay.
So when I heard that, I knew I was gone.
Gotcha.
I knew I was gone.
Okay.
The only thing that was upsetting for me, that didn't set well with me, but I've always been a person to go, hey, don't burn any bridges, just move on. You can't figure it out. They made the decision that they made. So they drafted Jason. I actually was at a Red Wing game that night and didn't know anything about it. I didn't pay attention to the draft. And a friend came up saying, hey, Ed, did you hear the Lions drafted a kicker? And I said, really? And I said, yeah, in the 2nd round. And it hit me automatically right away. I go, okay, I'm gone. So I called my agent, John Caponegro, and said, hey, John, you here? And he goes, yeah. And it goes, all right, well, let's plan what we got to do and see what happens after preseason, see what kind of a situation will come up. And he goes, okay. So after the draft, there's always like about 3 or 4 days usually after the draft, they'll have a mini camp. So they bring in all the draftees. They'll bring in the team from the year before, and we have a mini camp. So when we go, we always have that's the first time they give us like our big physicals to see how we are before camp starts. And so we go through like a full regiment, a whole day of orthopedic, blood work, internal doctors, just everything. Go through the whole gamut, get pricked and prodded and pulled and all over the place. And so the next day, we were starting our 3-day minicamp. So we're at the Pontiac Silverdome. We have a big team meeting. Some of the draftees at the time hadn't arrived yet. They didn't make their flight. And so Jason hadn't arrived yet. He was coming from Washington and hadn't made it in yet. So I'm at team meeting. We break up. And the offense goes to the offensive room, defensive goes, defensive room. I'm there with Jim Arnold, who was the punter with me. And they had a couple of punters or something like that. And no Jason. He hadn't arrived yet. So I'm getting ready. And I thought, I'm just going to get a little workout, a little cardio, something like that, get something blood flowing before camp, before practice, I should say. And just getting out of my street clothes, putting my workout stuff on, and one of the assistant people to Wayne Fonts says, "Hey, Coach Fonts wants to see you." And I said, "Oh, okay, let me just put," and he goes, "No, put your street clothes on." And I'm going, "What?" He goes, "Put your street clothes on." So I thought, they're not going to cut me. There's no way they're going to do that. Right. And so I put my street clothes on. I go up to Coach Fonts' office. He has Herb Patera, who is the linebacker coach there, in the room with him. And I go in and goes, "Hey, Ed, you know the situation. We've drafted Jason, and we've made the decision. We don't want you to go to camp." And I'm going, "Why? Why wouldn't you want me to go to camp?" And he goes, "Well, we don't want you to screw with him while he's in camp." And I'm going, "Well, hopefully you figured he's pretty good if you gave up some picks and you make him a second round pick, that you're not worried about that." And he goes, "Why would you think I would do that?" And he goes, "Well, because I was team captain for the last couple of years I was there." And I said, "Look, Wayne, I'm not going to change, that's fine. I'm good, and he said, "Well, how do you want us to let you go?" Because there were different things. You could be released, you could be cut, you could be, there was injury settlement, I wasn't hurt, all those different levels. And I said, "What's the least amount you're going to get from me?" And he says, "Well, if we cut you." And I said, "All right, well then cut me." And he did. They cut me.
Wow.
At minicamp. So that was the only time that I was really upset because of the length of tenure I gave them, and to be treated like that didn't set well with me. So that was, I know the question was brought up, I had things happen and, did you want to get back at them? The Lions was the only one, and I had a great situation. In 1995, I played with the Washington Redskins, and we played the Lions at RFK, the old RFK, and it was a tight game. And the game came down that I needed to kick a field goal to tie the game for us to go into overtime. And so I'm going out to the field, and I hear very distinct voice saying, "Call timeout, call timeout, call timeout." And it was Coach Fonts to ice me. And so I look over at him, and he's doing the timeout sign to the referee, calling timeout, and he's got a big old grin on his face, like he's got me. Yeah. He's got me. Well, guess what? I made the damn field goal. And I turned around and I pointed over at Wayne. And there's a picture in the newspaper of me pointing at Wayne afterwards, because we ended up beating them in overtime. Scott Mitchell threw an interception. He threw an out pass like on the 10-yard line, and Darrell Green intercepted it, and we went in for a touchdown. So that was my only gotcha moment that I had. That was very satisfying. Let's say that.
Yeah. Well, then you got a Super Bowl along the way as well, like we talked about. I think that was 93.
Yeah.
I think they won in 92, 93.
Yeah, they had beaten Buffalo, which was Buffalo's third loss at the Rose Bowl. And then we beat them their fourth loss for Buffalo at Georgia Dome.
That's amazing.
So what is your thoughts, I guess, kind of flipping to more of the current situation? What are your thoughts on the current state of the Lions? Obviously, a pretty big difference over where they've been, over the last several years. What are your kind of thoughts on the current state of the Lions and where you see them finishing maybe this year?
Well, it's been long overdue. and it took the combination of Sheila Ford-Hamp wanting a new coach, getting Dan Campbell, or I should say reversal, bringing Dan Campbell in, and then signing Brad Holmes. Those three things have put themselves in the situation that they all realized they needed to change the culture at the Detroit Lions. It was long overdue. It's like I said, I played 12 years, I won twice. I had some phenomenal teammates, phenomenal players that I played with during that time. We just weren't a good team. And a lot of it had to do with culture. Like anything, you have to embed a expectation of levels of play and how you're going to do things and run things. Well, the Lions were always changing coaches and changing coordinators, and was like that all the way up, really, until these past 3 years, going on now the fourth year this year. And it changed really fast. And it's great to see. They are doing some great things because they've always had great offense, defense, but never had a really good support system, backup guys. You need to have backups that are almost as good as the starters because it's just continuity of play, because football is a game of attrition. Right. What the Lions did last year has never happened in the NFL. To have the team with the best record in football with 22 guys on injured reserve has never happened in over 100 years in the NFL, because it's notorious year in and year out. The healthiest teams are always the playoff teams. Right. And the Lions broke that last year. So that meant that they had a pretty good supporting cast, even though they were dropping like flies, especially on defense, right? I mean, they were piecemealing game in, game out, people coming off the street and coming in and playing at a high level. It was astounding to see what happened. And that's what they have done a great job at, is with the backup. So the depth is immense there, rather than going in with the starting 11 here and 11 there. And, you got 22 guys, let's say 25, 30 guys out of a 53-man roster going into training camp. I bet they had 48 guys they knew who was going to make the team before they went to day one to camp. Right. So you got the rest of everybody competing for 8 positions. That changes the culture. Sure. And it's nice to see. And they're doing an unbelievable job. I'm so happy that they're in this situation, and I'm so happy for the Fords and for the organization to see what's happening.
Yeah, it's been so much fun to see. I think you nailed it when you talk about that culture change. And the thing that made me nervous about Dan Campbell when he was hired is his press conference. And there was so much, you turn on 97.1 or you jump in the comments section on some of the posts, and there was a lot of criticism. And I felt just, the likability factor immediately. And it's like, and then watching when they had it wasn't Inside the Den, it was Hard Knocks. You kind of see that.
Yeah.
Well, he got off to such a slow start, and the team struggled in his first year, and you've seen that happen year and year. I think the Jets have fired probably 3 different coaches, in their first season. The Browns, all these teams, and the fact that they held on to him. And then I remember Sheila Hamp came out and said, "Hey, no, we're 100% behind him." And then they ended up getting that first win, and then they rattled off. They had 9 wins. They knocked the Packers out of their playoff spot. And so you've seen that culture just shift. And then, the players that they're bringing in, they're not only tremendous amount of talent, but they're character guys. And they have to mesh from a teammate standpoint as well. Good guys in the locker room. So, yeah, it's been so much fun. For me as a Lions fan, a lifelong Lions fan, I was at the end of my rope through the end of the Matt Patricia era. And it was like, I'm like, this is making me sick watching these games. And it was like, just unhealthy. And, and I just, and it was kind of ironic. You see Matt Patricia on the sideline yesterday for Ohio State. But, so when they brought Dan Campbell in, it really revitalized my, just energy as a fan. I just, and so it's no surprise that everybody went all in. And so, this is, obviously we've been chasing the Super Bowl, for, my lifetime, everyone's lifetime. They've never been. And it's like, man, they were so close. I just hope this is the year that they can finally get over. But it's just that window so short, with injuries and everything. And, obviously our division's gotten a lot stronger in the last year. So this is the year. Hopefully they can figure it out. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, me only being 30, I haven't experienced any success until the last couple of years as far as the Lions go.
Well, yeah, it's good to talk in relationship to them being relevant rather than, because it was always, I hope they find a way to win. Now it's, I know, I know they're going to win in some crazy ways. I mean, last year they won in some crazy ways, and that's what kind of separates you. You have to have a somewhat, fortunate bounces and all of those things to come your way, for you to keep playing. Because bottom line is just find a way to win. That's it. Just like Al Davis used to say, just win, baby. Right?
Just win, baby.
It's a simple saying, but that's echoed in every hallway in the NFL. So it's just find a way to win.
And we've seen that last year.
Yeah,
in that road win in
ways.
Houston. I mean, I think that was the game where Jared Goff had 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
And then it was Jake Bates down the stretch, banging in 59-yarders. And I rewatched that game on the NFL Network a couple of weeks ago. And it's fun to rewatch it. And it's like he got both those picks. He had the game tying and the game winning. They just by a sliver on both sides of the uprights. But so that was fun. But yeah, there were so many times where the Lions would find a way to lose those games. It was so frustrating. I remember going to Ford Field, and it was against the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and it was like, the Lions, and they were up by 21 after, the first quarter, and then it was like, next thing you know, you just see Green Bay, and I'm like, I told my buddy, I'm like, they're going to lose this game on a kick. And sure enough, they did. I'm like, So, but the culture is different now. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, sure has been. Yep.
Eddie,
I know you are.
You had a last question? Brett, you had a last question?
Yeah. I was going to say, what's your thoughts on Jake Bates? Obviously, they're from today. What's your thoughts on Jake Bates' style? And do you see similarities between his style and his?
Well, Styles, no, but he's amazing. I mean, his story should be a movie. I mean, let's just think of, you go to college, they just make you the kickoff guy. They really don't give you a chance to kick field goals. He comes out, tries out for a couple of teams, didn't really work out for him, decides to, kind of hang it up and go sell bricks in Houston.
Right.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend, fiance, now wife, says, hey, the UFL's starting up. Why don't you, start kicking again and working out to see if you can get a chance to play for one of the teams in the NFL. He ends up playing, of all things, for the Michigan Panthers.
Right.
His first kick is a game-winning 62-yarder.
Yeah,
so, welcome to the UFL, but also welcome to the NFL. You've thrown yourself in front of, a team in the same city that needs a kicker. And talk about forks in the road for him. He's taken full advantage of everything. And I just think he's a unicorn. He is an amazing kicker. And, he's got an amazing upside to himself. And I think if he just stays healthy and being on a team like the Lions, he will have a great career. I don't know if he's going to play 22 years like Jason, but I think he's got a very healthy career ahead of him.
Yeah, it's been fun to see. And once again, you give credit to the Lions front office for evaluating that talent and going out and getting people like that. So that was an area that they struggled. So yeah, hopefully he locks it in and can help us. I mean, get to where we need to go. It's been great. Now, in your career, I mean, now that you're out of the NFL. Are there players that you mentor? Do you have conversations with, kickers in the league? And have you ever done anything like that to try to help some of these younger guys kind of get to where they're going?
I do private lesson, back over my tenure of doing that. Dave Rayner, who kicked at Michigan State. I started working with Dave back when he was at Oxford High School and through his MSU years. and kind of helped him with his career, because he ended up playing like 12 years in the NFL for a bunch of different teams, but he's still got 12 years in the league. He's kind of like the only person that I've done, but I do a lot of private lessons to help high school kids get scholarships. So, and it's always on I don't have a website. I don't have a camp. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. It's always someone knows me and they'll reach out and I'll give them some help and instruction and just do some things to help them get a scholarship to go to kicking college.
Great. Well, I will definitely keep that in mind. I do the play-by-play for the Goodrich Martians, and we had our home opener on our Thursday night, and I think the Bretts were there. And our sophomore kicker in his first varsity game, he knocked. He was 2 for 2 on extra points. We scored about 5 minutes ago. High snap, they got it down. He was able to bang it through, and then game winner with 21 seconds, a 29-yarder. For his first high school game. I thought that was a great experience.
I love hearing that.
Yeah, he stepped right in, and just a great kid, great family. So, I mean, those are tough. That's a tough situation when you're, about 14, 15 years old or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And he played like he played for years. It was fun.
Well, it's tough in high school, especially nowadays, because if you have a good kicker, sometimes they don't get utilized a lot, especially if you're not on a good team. Like I've had kids that are really, really good kickers, and they'll kick 3 field goals for the year because the coach is punting because they can't score. Yep. And so you don't get to utilize that. And so it's very difficult sometimes for high school kickers that are good, depending on the teams that they're on. So they can kind of fall through the cracks, and it's a shame sometimes. But I always say if they're good, they'll find you. So it's sometimes it's there are so many camps that are out there, and they have every Tom, Dick, and Harry, it seems like, who's put their name to it, and 90% of these people I don't know who they are. No offense, it's just. I think it's somewhat of a money grab rather than helping. That's why I don't have camps, because I did get asked to be a part of some big camp organizations. And I remembered my first camp I went to, I had like 70 kids, and I had, some college kids that were going to be my counselors and helping out. And so I would go start the camp, go over instruction, do things, and show people, because I always tell people, I show people how I kick, but everybody has a different way of doing things. So I'm going to help them find the best way for them to kick better. I don't teach a way to kick. I look at what you do and try to make you better. And so I conveyed that to the counselors. Well, what was happening, I was ending up, all these counselors were giving instructions about how they kicked. And I'm going, no, you got to look at them. Okay, you're teaching them to kick like you. And I just felt it was very unorganized, not the way I was going to do it. And especially if my name's on the camp, I needed to get around to all the kids to give them some special time. And it was difficult to do. And I thought, okay, this is not a good scenario. I don't feel right about this. I'm taking their money and I'm not really getting around to everybody. So I totally stepped away from that world of camps.
Yeah, it's like you said, your name is on it, and if they're getting bad advice, you don't want to be associated with that. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'm going to make a little minor midstream adjustment, as Frank Gans, God rest his soul, used to say. I'm hitting where I need to charge my phone, so I'm going to move over to the right where my charger is, so I don't drop you. Okay, just in case. Okay.
All right. No worries.
1 second. Hold on.
How you hitting them, Brett?
Apologies.
No apologies needed.
Okay, there we go. I just wanted to make sure I didn't lose you.
Yeah.
Can you see me okay? Yep. All right.
Yeah, everything's great. Well, Brett, Ed, I know that looks like over we met on LinkedIn, which is so amazing to me. That you've always been so kind, and just the birthdays, the anniversaries. I always thought that was really, really cool. And almost it was like, is this really Eddie Murray? I probably told and I replied to your message like, is this the Eddie Murray? Like, and And I thought it was cool. I asked you, and I look back through our messages. I'd asked you probably 5-6 years ago when you first messaged me. I said, "What was your favorite moment in your career?" And as a Lion, and you shared your game-winning kick against the Cowboys. I think it was in '92. So tell our listeners about that story, because that was the I found the video. I'll share it in our.
The when I was with Detroit against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
The 12 men on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was no. I wasn't 92. I wasn't with the Lions at 92.
Oh yeah.
I think it was 82.
82.
I think it was 82 or 83.
Yeah, that's what I meant. 82.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was such a unique situation. So at that time, it was kind of funny how it came around. Going into training camp that year, Joe Madden was the special teams for the Lions at the time. He was there for my rookie year. He had come in, and we're at camp at Oakland University, and he goes, "Hey, we're going to work on how long it would take to get the field goal team on the field and get the offensive players that aren't on the field goal team off when there's no timeouts to kick a game-winning field goal." So that was the scenario. So every day at camp, we would do this thing. So it was, all right, get ready, all right. And then the offense would run a play, and they would down it and spot it. And they would go, field goal, field goal, field goal. So we're all running out there. Guys that were on the field that weren't supposed to be on there would be running off, and I'd go there and I'd kick. And usually it took like anywhere from like 16 to 18 seconds. We were kind of doing this thing. And I remember, and so now you got to remember, we're at camp for 3 weeks. It's not like camp now. They're there for 10 days and 2 days for 3 weeks and all the, anyway. So, I kept thinking, I said, man, this scenario is never going to happen. It is never going to happen. I was always grumbling about what we had to do, but I'm just doing my job. Hey, I'm going out there, running out there, trying to make this happen. And lo and behold, during the season, here we are. We're playing the Cowboys. We're down 3. We have no timeouts left. Eric's, I think we started the drive in our half. I think we're like on the 20 or 25-yard line. And we're driving down the field, and Joe Madden's saying, all right, field goal team, get ready. We have no timeouts. And so I remember they were driving towards the tunnel end, away from the main event end, and we're going towards the tunnel end. And so as they cross 50, I always now switch into, okay, I got to just, concentrate on, go over my approach, take a couple of dry runs, just stretch a little bit, just kind of get ready. And I'm at the main event end of the 50. Like on the 40 of that end. And so we're driving, going down the other way. And I'm not really paying attention to time. So that was my fault. and all of a sudden, Eric throws this seam pass to Ulysses Norris right down the middle of the field. And he catches the ball. And back then, when you had to down the ball, now you just, throw it in the ground. Back then, you had to take a snap and throw the ball out of bounds. And when the ball crossed the sideline, that's when the clock would stop. So it's totally different back then. So I see the pass and going, oh my God, we're in field goal range. And so I'm at the other end, I'm looking down the field, and I hear Joe Madden going, field goal, field goal, field goal team. And so I'm going, shoot, I got to put my helmet on. I put my helmet on, and I'm starting to, jog down. And I hear Monty going, clock the ball, which, down the ball was what we're doing. So Monty's yelling clock at Eric. Joe's yelling field goal team to me. And it was like a Chinese fire drill. So the guys who were on the sideline with me, like the snapper, Eric was my holder. There was a couple other guys who would play like, the end position on the field goal team, linebacker guys. So we're all like looking at each other. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And so Eric was the same way. If you see the highlight, he's kind of like looking over to the sideline and looking on the field, who's on the field, because he knew he needed to get the wideouts, especially off the field. And it got to a point that right at the end, all of a sudden, then Monty goes, field goal instead. And then that's when we all went out. So we're all running out, and Ulysses Norris, who caught the ball, wasn't on the field goal team. He's over on a tight end position. Leonard Thompson, who was a wideout, he's standing on the left, just standing there hoping no one sees him. And I go running out. Eric goes back, puts a spot, and I just go run to an area. I don't even take my steps, don't do anything. Kick a 43-yarder to win the game with 12 men on the field. So, that was definitely the craziest, and especially beating the Cowboys because they were America's team big time at that time. So
that's amazing. Yeah, it was just like you said, a Chinese fire drill. That's funny.
Yeah.
So, were you shocked that they didn't throw a penalty flag with the 12 guys on the field?
Well, there wasn't an instant replay, right? So they didn't have that luxury to go back because they definitely would have caught it.
For sure.
And at the same time, what helped, because they saw us coming out to kick a field goal, that the Cowboys were trying to put their field goal rush personnel onto the field at the same time. So there was a lot of exchange of bodies and people running and diving, on the sidelines on both sides. So the officials had a difficult time trying to count everybody on both teams.
Yep.
So that kind of helped us out, really.
For sure. Yeah, I watched that kick. I found it on YouTube. I watched it this morning. So, like I said, we'll put that in our show notes.
Yeah,
we'll have to get that picture. We'll have to try to get that picture of you pointing at Wayne Fontes as well.
Yeah.
If you have any good photos like that, you have to share them with us, Eddie.
Okay.
Well, I know now you work in the community. I know you work for the Hope Network. I did pull up, where we are LinkedIn, buddy. You're director of director of donor community relations for Hope Network. So tell us a little bit about that. What is it? Tell us about the organization and your role, and we can share that information with our listeners and help you try to get your goals, I guess.
Yeah. So first of all, I just had my 14th anniversary with Hope Network. So I've been very fortunate to be with them. They're one of the larger nonprofits in Michigan. I think we're the third largest nonprofit, definitely the largest behavioral health nonprofit. So we just celebrated our 60th year last year as a nonprofit based out of Grand Rapids. And we provide behavioral health services in basically all 83 counties. The services we provide are neural rehab, physical therapy. We have 4 early diagnosis autism centers, one in Grand Rapids, one in Holland, one in East Lansing, and our newest one is in Livonia at the old Ladywood High School facility next to Madonna. We took half the building there. We have a reading program, Michigan Education Corps. We're in 120 schools in Michigan. And the parameters of the program, it's different than other reading programs, is we have AmeriCorps tutors that give 20 minutes of individual attention reading to the identified child that needs help, 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 14 weeks. And if they hit those parameters, we're hitting 97% of those kids get to third grade reading level or above. So that's been a very robust program for us. The other, we have workforce development. We've had it for about 18 years. We started with helping some of our mental and physical disability people have a job. The example I use is they'll send 4 different flavors of potato chips and then make a variety pack. And so we do a lot of food sorting and sub-assembly type of things. We have an arrangement with a medical supply company where we'll make 10-item medical kits or 25-item medical kits, and all the person's doing is basically taking the items out of the boxes and putting them in one box, and we ship them out. So we started with 20 people 18 years ago, 25,000 square foot facility, maybe working half days for 3 days, to we have 5 days a week, 2 shifts. We're in around 300 people that we hire. Wow. And we've increased who we serve. So we have refugees. So all the way from Afghanistan, to Ukraine now. So their barrier is language So we actually translate 14 different languages in our facility to help them with the barrier of not being able to speak English. But we also teach English to them to help them in the community to get up and going. And the other population is returning citizens. So people coming out of incarceration, we help them with their first job, help them resume build, get them used to being back into the community and having a job. And we would like them to move on because they have a better chance of getting a better job. So between those three barriers, for lack of better words, we do a really good program. The thing that a lot of people, so it's the only service line that we have that we've never raised money or we've never taken any grant money to run the program. We actually bid. There's other companies that do what we do, but they don't have people with disabilities that do this kind of work. So we bid on the work and get the job done and complete it in a timely manner. So that's a big thing for us that we haven't had to do anything about raising money. We have actually negotiated contracts, got the work, and have kept these people employed as well as employed more people as we've gone through the process.
Yeah, you're changing lives.
Yeah, and the other barrier is transportation. So we actually have the largest independent transportation system in Michigan. Wow. In a 5-county area around Grand Rapids, we have buses, red buses, and they help move around people that get our services in that area when a caregiver can't take them to services. So something happens, hey, we'll go pick the person up, take them to neural rehab. They now need to go to Myers and go get groceries, or they need to go to the dentist. We drop them off, and then the closest vehicle will come and pick them up and take them home. So that's been a very successful program because that's also a barrier when it comes to providing the services that we provide. And lastly, we have about 300 group homes around the state of Michigan with people that are coming out of getting services from us, but then a caregiver can't take care of them anymore, or they need to find housing themselves. And so we have hot homes all around the state helping people have a place to stay.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Good for you. I mean, making a difference, like I said, changing lives and helping people, especially coming out of, being incarcerated or just coming here from another country, or, you're just helping them better themselves. That's amazing. It's got to be so rewarding.
It has been. Like I said, I was a little bit of a rarity as an athlete to go back to when I was, playing football in 1980, rookie year. I'm at an event late in the year where a lot of the alumni players were at, the Joe Schmitz, Mike Lucci's, Jimmy David, Alex Delvecchio from the Wings, all now they're retired and they're working and have businesses, some of them, and all that stuff. And they were asking, hey, Ed, what are you going to do, after the season's over? And I said, well, I think my wife and I are just going to go back to Victoria. And they said, if you haven't made home yet, you need to make Detroit your home, make Michigan your home. It's a great place, raise a family. And if you haven't made home yet, you should do that and get a job in the off season. And I'm going, get a job? What the hell do I want to get a job for? And they said, no, they love their athletes here. And that was the smartest advice I got. So
that's great.
I've raised my family here. Every off season I played football, I took a job, not knowing I was going to play 20 years in the NFL, but I did. I worked every off season, worked all the way up till I was 44, playing in the NFL. And my wife now, when I retired in 2000, she said, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm going to go get a job.
There you go.
So
go to work.
I've been working for 45 years in Michigan, and like I said, I've raised my family here. In fact, my 28-year-old daughter graduated Michigan State, and she's in her 3rd year as a cheerleader for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
But you're not the only Murray family member to play or to work for the Lions organization. That's so cool.
This is their 10th year as a cheerleading organization sponsored by the Lions, so they're relatively new when it comes to cheerleading squads in the NFL. But she's actually the first daughter of a player to be on the team. So it was 3 years ago when she made it. They did a couple of nice TV interviews and newspaper stuff about us, kind of that full circle moment for my wife, Cindy, and I to have our daughter, Nicole, be on the cheerleaders. And it's been nice. She's had a great experience and she's all excited for this year.
Oh, I bet. A lot to cheer about for sure.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, Eddie, I've asked, I know we've asked a lot of the players that we've talked to, and you talked about, having phone conversations with Mr. Belichick, but who's the most famous person in your phone, Eddie? I'm always curious. Like, we're just normal people, and I'm honored to have your phone number. It's like, it's just kind of surreal to have these conversations, but, I guess who's famous in your phone?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, a longtime friend of ours has been Tim Allen. So he's a Detroiter, and in Tim's early career, when no one knew who the heck he was and no one knew about school time and all of that kind of stuff, my wife, Cindy, and I, we frequent Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak. We just lived there on every weekend. We would always go to see all of the comedians that would come in, and Tim in his early years, Mark introduced me to him, and he's a huge Lion fan because he's always at every Thanksgiving Day game, even till today. And we had a very long relationship with him back before he became Tim the Two-Man Taylor. So
I remember him as a comedian. He was hilarious. He was one of my favorite comedians. Yeah, that's so cool. Well, we appreciate your time, Eddie. I know it's a busy holiday weekend, and I think I'm fresh out of questions. Brett, you got anything else you're holding on to?
No, he's answered more than I could ask for. Yeah, I appreciate your time, Eddie. It's been a blast.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Sorry for the lengthy stories, but the questions
that's perfect.
I get a lot, or always just those ones with how do I get to Tulane? What happened when I got drafted? All that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you being patient and let me tell those stories.
Oh, that was so much fun. Yeah, we enjoyed it, and we'll have to get you back on the show. We'll continue to. That's what I told everyone. You're kind of stuck with us now. You're part of the Great Story Podcast family and the Mitten State. We're gonna partner together to continue to do these sports episodes, and if there's anybody in your inner circle that wants to tell their story, we'll be happy to talk to them as well. But we'll get your this edited up and get you posted here during the Lions season, and we'll definitely send you a link, and we'll continue to, if you have any fundraising efforts or anything within your current role you want to promote, we'll happily share within all of our social media channels as well.
I appreciate that. I'll pass those on. I know you'll see them on LinkedIn a lot also ahead of time. Chad, I have a golf outing in June at Oakland University for Hope Network, and we have an event at Ford Field called Spirits of Hope in January that we always have, and other events for Hope Network around the state up in Grand Rapids. We have some other events, and I'll definitely share those posts.
Perfect. And I'll dedicate one of my wonderful Wednesdays. I've been posting the positive people out there making a difference in the world on my Wednesday post on LinkedIn. So I'll gladly share it and connect you and hopefully get you some traffic heading your way as well.
Yeah, like I said, anybody wants to know more about Hope Network, they can go to hopenetwork.org and peruse through our website. Like I said, we do a lot of different silos of things, but we definitely make an impact. We service over 40,000 people in Michigan.
That's amazing. All right, Eddie Murray, NFL kicker for many years, a Super Bowl champion, and all-around great person. So happy to have you on our show today, Eddie. That was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, guys, and have a wonderful Labor Day weekend.
All right.
Thanks,
Take care, Eddie. Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.
Take care.
All right. Bye. I'll get this ball.